Hello and welcome back to the STC with me, Warsmith Chris, and that guy over there who is Winter's SEO.
Oh, that's me. Hi.
That's you. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Lots of exciting things coming in, release things which I can't really talk about yet. So I've been busy behind the scenes. Also, smashing out the Raven Guard, really involved in the Raven Guard project right now. Adding Devastators. Now, you might be thinking, why are you adding units of Devastators to Raven Guard? I've got two ideas of lists. One is the Raven Guard sort of list, but the other thing that they do in Horus Heresy is all infantry units can get infiltrate. So imagine the idea. So the list, lots of snipers in it, lots of fast things in it, but also some devs set up. And then it's like the ambush thing. So I feel like it's like Raven Guard. That's one version of the list. There's another version of a list with... Anyway, so I'm very excited about because the Emperor's Children project has come to a natural conclusion. We're now moving on to the Raven Guard. So lots of exciting things, lots of modelling opportunities. I'm making my way through the Dawn of Fire series as well, which I'd never listened to before. It's very good. Would recommend. Nice. 10 out of 10. Yeah, good. You, how is your hobby life going, Warsmith Chris?
Well, things have taken a turn recently, actually, in the hobby space, and that is that I have now officially played 2 games of 10th edition, which was 2 more than the position I was in the last episode of STC.
Well done.
So I have some things. I wanted to start off with some things to say about 10th edition.
Yes.
First of all, this isn't the... I understand where we are at the moment. We're in a holding pattern.
Yes.
We're trying to land, and we've all been told to circle the airport, and they're handing out snacks and stuff on the flight.
Right.
And there's peanuts, and they're doing the little cans of beer and things like that. And that's where we're at. We're in the holding pattern, and this ain't no Index 8th edition.
No.
This is actually more like first Codexes of 8th edition, when they were first introducing stratagems, and you had a small selection of stratagems. And if you recall, they were it took them a little while to get the ball rolling on all those extra bits that they added in, which are now staples, like stratagems and all the extra little gubbins. So I feel like it's a little bit Wild Westy at the moment. It's a little bit crazy. Yes. Right?
Yes.
So in the first game, I played both games using my Necrons.
Okay.
Necrons, really like them where they're at the moment. I really like the kind of groundwork that's been put in for them. Mm-hmm. They feel a little bit more resilient, like how they should be. I had some issues with the reanimation kind of being a one chance thing that was in their previous iteration.
Right.
They've kind of gone up and down through you do it right now, and if they don't reanimate, they're gone forever, and then going back to adding things back to units later, which I much prefer. I went against Space Marines in the first game. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that game. Nice. Space Marines are very good at the moment. Oath of Moment is without doubt a fantastic ability to kind of pick what you want, and just it's gonna feel the pain, right?
Yes, that's one word to describe it. Fantastic.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know that which one of your units have been picked for Oath of Moment, and that's just how it's going to be. I won that game on points. Okay. I was ready to concede about 3/4 of the way through because my numbers had diminished a lot. But it turns out that 10th it feels like it's going to be more killy, and we've all heard things about the Wraith Knights that do 12 mortal wounds a go with fate dice and all this kind of stuff, but I think things are much more survivable. I feel like vehicles are in a much better spot. It felt like everything had to go for its intended target. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you need anti-tank stuff to kill tanks.
Yeah,
whereas beforehand, tanks you could just put a lot into them of anything, and then the tanks would fall down. Yeah, bigger things are definitely a lot tougher. Yeah.
Yes, and that feels better. It feels better that you're not getting a bolt pistol isn't shooting the back out of your massive quantum shielded Doomsday Arc, and all my vehicles actually survived to the end, which was
nice.
A bit of luck. The first thing I did, which was very rude actually, was I fired a Doomsday cannon. I was rolling hot for shots, and I fired a 6-shot Doomsday cannon that got devastating wounds into his gladiator, and it just exploded straight away.
Okay,
but that was the only one hit, one kill vehicle action we had in the game. There was a lot of back and forth shooting, and things were getting wounded, and it felt good. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the missions. I enjoy playing the Leviathan mission cards. It feels like, a nice card-based mission thing. I enjoyed it. The second game was against Tau.
Right.
We know that Sultan's been struggling with Tau. I've looked through a lot of I've really poured over the data sheets because it got my juices going. Got my juices flowing for 40k again.
Nice.
So I started pouring through the data sheets, and I can see that Tau are not necessarily optimized for what they should be doing. I can see that. I can see that what they're kind of a one-trick army. They're a shooting phase army, but they haven't quite got the shooting phase pinned down yet. I feel. I feel like Space Marines and Necrons definitely felt they played more like how they should, compared to Tau. But he did win with Tau. He won. He plays quite aggressively, as he always does with his armies, and he played an aggressive Tau, and it was just very different because he couldn't rely on the resilience of Space Marines. Yeah. It was a trade thing, but he was just getting the more points. So
it's good that he won. He's never won. It's probably his first win.
Yeah, and he said he really enjoyed it as well. He enjoyed not getting his nuts kicked back up inside his body by your anti-Tau list. So he had a good time anyway. But
good.
In doing that, I've now almost finished painting a 2,000 point Tau army. I've got about 3 things left. I've painted 36 miniatures in the last week. I've just been going mad on it.
So you found your mojo again?
Oh, my mojo is back so hard. Like I've been finishing like a unit a night.
Nice. Where did you lose your mojo? Was it down the back of the sofa? Did the dog eat your homework? Where was the mojo?
Stupidly, it was just in a box. It was just an empty box over here, and I was sorting stuff out, opened it up, and the mojo just jumped straight out. I was like, "Whoa, it's back!"
Like a face hugger.
Yeah, like a face hugger.
Nice.
And it impregnated me with good feelings of 40k again. And I never lost enthusiasm for the universe and the lore. It was just the game was a bit odd at the end of 9th, and it's going to be odd again. I'm sure it's going to be odd. We've got some questions tonight about that, actually.
Well, can I say that you do look pregnant? You're certainly glowing.
Yes, I have. Just before we did this podcast, I ate. My wife cooked a replica sausage and egg McMuffin from McDonald's. She made one with potato waffles, and it's all just sat there. So,
nice. Sausage and egg McMuffin, man, can't beat him.
Love them. Yeah. But that's where I'm at. So 10th edition's in the bag, and excitingly, on the day of this recording, when people see this, it's going to be in the past. So this will already have happened. Right. I am coming around to get back on the old playing against Winters wagon, which should be very interesting because you've played a few games of 40k in your time. 1 or 2.
I'll be gentle. I don't want to break your mojo. Okay.
No, don't break my mojo. We'll save that for later. For the grudge match. But just ease me in. I'll be bringing Necrons, but I do have other armies but I think Necrons are a good, easy force to sort of ease your way back in with. They're nice. They're nice. They're just nice. I thoroughly recommend them to everybody. Necrons play nicely. They've got a bit of resilience, like Space Marines. They've got some good shooting. They've got a bit of melee now. They can do that. Although, if anyone has got any tips on how to play Scorpex, I I just can never get Scorpex to work. So even with the Veil of Darkness, I position them somewhere, and the charge is just so unreliable. They do just get shot off the table if you fail your charge, and that is a lot of points invested in a Scorpec unit. And they don't have the -1 to wound whirling blades.
No,
anymore.
I think. See, the thing is, the game is a bit imbalanced at the moment, and Scorpex. I've run them a couple of times, and if your enemy wants to delete them, they can delete them.
Yeah, they can just do that.
And destroyers you can do that. So I think when the points changes come out, some of these things should be addressed up or down, because Necrons are a good army. You can hoard it up if you want to, you can get lots of shooting if you want to, or you can get lots of close combat if you want to, but I feel like the close combat actions are overcosted at the moment, personally.
Yes.
I think they could come down a little bit to get that, so that threat goes up. You need that to go up. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good round of force, and they're easy to paint and they're easy to play. So I'm glad you're back on the wagon. Well done.
Back on the wagon. And my last comment on Necrons is don't sleep on the Deceiver. I know that everyone goes for the other guy, the Night Haunter or whatever his name is.
That's it. That's his name. Yes.
Reaper of Darkness.
He's the Reaper of Obliterax. Yes.
Yeah. Who cuts everyone to bits. The Deceiver, great fun. He's really good. He's really punchy now. He's got a nice ranged attack. He's hard to hit. He's got stealth, and more importantly, at the start of the game, he redeploys D3 units, and that's just really fun. And I think it has a lot more value than people give it, because people are going to want to take out your big doomsday guns straight away. Yep. But you can just move them if you don't like your positioning.
Does he redeploy stuff after you know who's going first, or before you know who's going first?
I'd have to double check that.
Because if that'd be, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. Comment below. But it'd be really hyper useful if you could do that after you figure out who's going first turn or not.
It's certainly it's after deployment and before the first battle round. I can't remember what the next bit was. But
if it's after deployment but before the first battle round, then you're probably rolling to see who goes first.
Before.
I don't know. Anyway,
we'll check that. Because
we'll check that.
Maybe we played it wrong. It didn't actually have much of an impact on our game because Sultan's stuff was quite cagey. It was quite well hidden away, and I just sneaked a little shot in at the start. I ended up going first anyway. It was good fun. Nice. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I'm feeling it. I'm enjoying it. I'm playing other game systems as well. Yeah. I think that's important. You play Heresy, obviously, which is an older rule set. I think if you commit to just playing 40k and nothing else at all, you can hyper focus in on what's going on with it, and it might be bad. I don't know, but I'm playing different game systems, some skirmish systems, playing Flames of War, things like that, bolt action, and it's nice to have a bit of variety, and it keeps it
true
fresh.
Gamer, Chris. True gamer.
So there we go, and it's fun. Good. So if anyone's sitting on the fence with 10th, just go and play a game with someone who's not trying to ruin it. Because I think 10th is definitely the place that's at the moment. I think someone could turn up with a Wraith Knight and make you think that it's completely broken. And
let's see. Awful. I thought about this the other day. Restrictions. There is restrictions in 10th edition, which is the rule of 3 or the rule of 6 if you're battle line. Those are the only restrictions. But in all other aspects, in all other editions, we had restrictions. HQ troops limited to number of elites, limited to number of heavies, we had greater restrictions. Because if I turned round to you and said, I want to play a game of 40k and you can bring whatever you want, ignore the rule of 3, then obviously if there are 0 restrictions, the game balance can get scale can get really out of whack. So there's always been a recognition at Games Workshop that it needs some kind of restrictions in order to, because the scale between the bottom lists and the top lists gets greater if there are 0 restrictions whatsoever. And the restrictions were stronger in previous editions. They're less strong in this edition, rule of 3. Therefore, the scale between the bottom lists and the top lists right now is bigger than it ever has been before. Yeah. So I think what that means is if you're playing games of Warhammer 40k right now, it's very important to talk to your opponent beforehand to find out what kind of game they want to play. And if they want to play a fully competitive gloves off kind of game, then great. It's always great to play those kind of games to see what your list, to see what your units, to see what your army, your collection can really do. Great. And if they want to play something a bit more casual with a bit more mixed with all the chocolates in the chocolate box, then great. Play something a bit more casual, a bit more. And having played both versions of 40, there's a massive difference between the two, is the first thing. But having played both versions, I couldn't tell you which one was better. I've played it at the top end with some really strong lists and really enjoyed myself so long as my opponent knew that we were doing that beforehand, and also the mixy ones. It's I quite like the variety of it. I quite like the imbalance doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. The imbalance just means the social contract, talking through with your opponent beforehand, is more important than it used to be. Yeah.
And I think you'll find a lot of people have a collection that is kind of there are some people play 40k with an army and they collect that army and they've got 10,000 points of it. Other people tend to like amass almost like a fixed 2,000 points for it as well. So if you meet people who are like that, their army tends to already be tailored to the old style of, they won't have just elite units for their Space Marines, because everyone knows Space Marines. Without restrictions on elites, there's so many good elite slot items for Space Marines. Just absolutely load that. And one of the cool things about list building before was deciding which of those elites you're going to take if you're going to fill it out. And I imagine that will have to come back at some point. Like you said, it's been that way for a while.
I don't think they will.
Are we moving into an age of just sort it out amongst yourselves, guys?
Okay, there's a couple of reasons why sort it out amongst yourselves, guys, is the thing. The first thing is to talk about the old. If you want a system where there is the old school list building in it, that system still exists and it's called Horus Heresy.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And when Warhammer Fantasy Old World comes out, I know nothing, no one's told me anything, but I strongly suspect that will have old school type list building in it. Just like Heresy leans on some older systems, I expect the Old World will lean on some older systems. Therefore, Games Workshop are catering to people who like that sort of play style and that sort of list building versus the more accessible, here you go, 40k Age of Sigmar thing. So I think they're trying to cater to everyone across the systems. I think that's one reason why they won't do it. And the other reason why they won't do it is because this system sells more models. So in 40k previously, I could only bring 3 elites or 3 fast. So I couldn't have a army with bikes in it and speeders in it and planes in it, and you couldn't build up this because you run out of fast slots. But now you can. Now if you want to bring a Tyranid army and you want to put 3 big monsters in it, well, previously you could only put 3 big monsters in the heavy slot. That was it. You couldn't bring 6 heavy monsters or 9 heavy monsters. Now you can. You can bring. So I think another reason why we're going to see this is because they're going to sell a lot more models. And they're a model making company. They're a model selling company, and they need to do that. That's the bottom line.
So what you're saying is, this is a segue moment.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you kind of want to surround yourself with like-minded community.
Yeah.
When it comes to 40k for this edition, and whilst you're doing it, you could also find your way onto a Discord channel where you can submit questions and stuff for this very podcast.
You could.
So, Winters, what do people have to do in order to join a community of like-minded individuals, and B, have access to the Discord where they can ask questions for this very podcast, which is coming out later?
Well, Chris, I'm glad you asked me. One of the things you could do is become a Winters SEO channel member. It's also a great way to support me too. keep the lights on. Yeah, and at tier 2 it unlocks the Discord, and at tier 3 it unlocks the Discord and also gives you an extra battle report every single winter's Wednesdays. And there's a lot of like-minded people in. There's actually a section in the Discord where you float, where it's got where are you in the world, where are you in the region in the UK, how meet up for games, that sort of stuff. So it's a great community of like-minded people playing Warhammer 40k. Join the Winter's SEO Discord, tier 2, tier 3 things. Yes, that.
Do that.
Thanks. Yes.
There's also a little bit in there where there's an STC section.
Oh, this.
There's two of them. There's two of them,
yes.
actually. There's one where you could go in there and, like, every couple of weeks I shout out to everyone and say, guys, we're doing it. We're doing a thing. Come and ask us things. And then people come on and they go, and I have to go through and pin the ones that we're going to talk about. And you
did that, right? We've got pinned now. We've got that.
Right. Loads of pin stuff for
good.
Tonight.
I'm glad someone did. Okay.
Yeah, that's my thing now, and I sit there and I pin it and I respond to people and I go, hang on a minute, did someone ask that before? And I'm trying to figure it out. And then there's another room in there where people like talk about the things that we've just talked about, or about questions that have been asked in the other thing, and it's all just talking about fun stuff. It's engaging in the hobby in the world, isn't it? So it's all good. It's all good fun. It's all good stuff.
Yes.
So come and do that, and then you can talk to me if you want. I've got nothing interesting to say, but I'm there if you fancy it. But so that's where we are at. Come and find us. And 10th edition is fun. I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to go do a thing.
Well, that's all you could ask from the hobby, right? You collect. You're gonna, even if you didn't play, you'd still be a collector. You'd still be listening to audiobooks or reading books, because you and I, we love this hobby, and so the game being fun as well, and you enjoying it, that's good. That's cherry on cake time.
Yeah. And then we'll find out over time whether Winters can make me hate the game by kicking my buns off. On the tabletop, so I'll try really hard not to. We'll see how it goes. We've got some old grudges to settle anyway, because like I need to update my Iron Warriors, because the last time the Iron Warriors met the 13th, it ended on the end of the turn, and my Warsmith Remicles was like trying to charge in on who was it? I think it was Chaplain Snow. I
think it was Solgaro. I remember gunning him down like a dog. It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was Solgaro himself, and they probably knew each other from the old times or whatever.
Yes.
And he never got that. They never got to engage in that fight, and I retreated. So I think at some point I need to buy a couple of boxes of Chaos Space Marines, update the Iron Warriors, because I believe Vindicators might not be as bad now, and I can still bring my triple Vindicators, have my heavy brick list of Iron Warriors that I always wanted, and maybe they'll do a bit better. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
I'll have to not redo it, but have the second part to that fight, where maybe you guys hunt after them after they escape, or maybe we'll come back for more. I don't know.
I don't want to go hunting after you. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
No, you Iron Warriors, you come this way.
We'll come back for more. Yeah.
You come back for more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to have a look at some of these questions I got here?
Yes. Yeah? Let's see if there are any good ones this session. Sometimes there are,
Yeah. I'm going to pick out a few fun time ones to start off with.
Okay. All right. Warm me up slowly.
Yeah. So the first question. What should we start with? There's some silly.
You should be lined up, ready to go, Chris.
No, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Off the block. Question 1. No. Boom. But you're like, said you pinned it. Go on.
Yeah, I've got it pinned. Right. This question came in just before we went live. Right.
Is it? Nice.
From John Luke, and the question is Stylus too smug? Obviously, everyone knows who Stylus is. If you don't, check out the four-way battle report that was quite recent. I think it was like last week or something. He's the Welsh one that comes on with his
Pretend Welsh.
Dusty boys. He's very posh though. He might be too smug.
No, he leans into it. And I love him for it. He will do stuff that will lose him the game, and he will follow his narrative bunny head, and he will do things just to frustrate you for the sake of frustrating him. He's one of the most enjoyable opponents I play.
I've never heard any complaints. Only praise.
And he is a little bit too smug, yeah. But he leans into it. It's on purpose.
Yeah.
It's like behind the scenes against like Sultan or Dark Ages Chris played recently, I can get smug as all hell. You've seen me. I will poke people. I'm trying to let's make this. And sometimes I just poke too hard, and people come away bruised. Okay, with the blood, and then there's hospital, and then there's rehabilitation, and then there's alcoholism and hard drugs, and eventually lying naked in a beach somewhere in Mumbai. It's bad. So I am aware. Yes, I'm much smuggerer than Stylus.
That's maybe where Smug Road takes you. Yeah, maybe. Maybe he might have been a nice boy before he started hanging out at the old Winters studio.
I feel like he's not that smug. But as soon as he comes and plays a battle report with me, I rub off all over him. My smugness rubs on him, and then that's what I draw out of him. It's probably a shallow reflection of the horrors inside my soul.
Badger asks, how many grots can Murphy fit in his gob at once?
That's a good question. Yeah, I wonder. Next question.
Stranger Come Knocking, a regular question asker as well. When the first human fleets made it to Mars, how did they deal with all the biker mice? I had to put it in. I love biker mice from Mars.
Brilliant.
Classic. Right, should we do some? We'll do some real questions. They were all real questions, but real quick. So
were they?
This is a Winter's Operations question from Pickle Nick.
Oh.
Are you planning any narrative campaigns like Gehenna again?
I've been on the Lime streams recently. I keep getting asked this, so thank you for your interest in all the campaigns and things, and doing some stuff and things. Thank you. No. At the moment, new edition, new codexes, new stuff, we're riding the wave right now. When the wave crashes on an island and I've got my pina colada and my sun hat on and I'm chilling for a bit, then I'll start thinking about some campaigns and stuff. But right now, I'm ripping those waves, yo. So no, not at the moment, but thanks.
For the record, at some point later next year, I was thinking about maybe doing a little event somewhere, but I'll keep everyone in the loop.
An event?
That depends how things go. Yeah, just have a nice weekend somewhere and play some 40k, So,
okay.
See how it goes.
Okay.
If there's an absence, something will get fitted there. And plus, I think Brat puts on events and everyone puts on events. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll find places to meet and drink and be merry.
They gave me an idea. I'm writing it down.
He's right.
Keep going.
Okay, right. This is a very interesting question, Winters.
Okay.
It's from Runt Herder.
Okay.
Runt Herder asks, and I think this was quite controversial. This got a few opinions going.
Oh.
Is the move to digital artwork for the better? Will our hobby ever see an artist of the likes of John Blanche again? Now, I think the industry as a whole is moving. It's a natural progression, isn't it? It's a natural tool that we're moving into digital artwork. That's how it works. This isn't talking about AI generated artwork and things like that. But there is certainly a style when people create their art on a computer. There's a style which can never be replicated by pencil and pen and ink work and things like that. It's got its own thing. Now, my personal opinion is that I grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, where everything, all these books, all my fantasy books, everything that I consumed to do with Warhammer was hand drawn, and that was what really drew me into it, right? That kind of artwork is what really inspired me, because for whatever reason it was just the style of the time was amazing. So whether it's just nostalgia or my preferred, what I grew up with, I much prefer hand-drawn art to the digital stuff. But some of the stuff that comes out, some of the digital art is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing, stunning. There's been some great Codex covers recently. There's been some great like double-page art spreads, and it's all fantastic. But I don't think to answer the question, I don't think we will ever see an artist of the likes of John Blanche again, because I think that's a period of time. It's like paintings. You had like your Renaissance era, and you had Cubism and things like that. I think that era has somewhat passed in terms of products. Of course, there'll be artists all over the world constantly drawing and in pen and stuff, but I think in terms of what people bring to the market, it will mostly be digital.
Yeah. I think that kind of sums it all up. The only thing I could really add is the world will never see an artist like John Blanche again, because he isn't just an important artist for our community. He is an important artist, not just his Warhammer drawings, but the drawings that he did in the Zombie Forest and things like that. He illustrates and creates images which are so unique and so full of imagination, which take you to different lands or different places or put different ideas in your head that no one had ever put, talking from a personal point of view, but no one had ever put these kind of ideas, these sensations, these thoughts, these feelings in my head before. There's something about great art, be it Michelangelo, the statue of David, be it whatever it is, be it a John Blanche. There's something about great art that takes you to a place outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's, personally, for me, I'm not an art critic or anything, but for me, the difference between good art and truly great art is there's good art all over the place all the time, but great art takes you somewhere else. Great art puts you in a different mindset, a different place, a different emotions, different things, unlocks things inside yourself, for me anyway. And John Blanche, his work, his style, his voice, the expressiveness of some of his work is just, it's incredible. And we as a community lucked out. We rolled treble sixes there to have him alive at the time and in Nottingham, influencing this hobby. This hobby would not be grim dark without John Blanche there at the very start of things. It might be grim dark, but it won't be as grim as dark. There would be certainly less skulls and floaty cherubs around. It would look completely different. And Warhammer 40k, part of the reason for its massive success is because it didn't look like any other sci-fi franchise. It still doesn't look like any other sci-fi franchise. It's got its own unique artistic identity. You can see 40k images and you know they're 40k images. You can see some other sci-fi images and you might think to yourself, is that Dune? Is that Star Trek? Is that where's that one from? But you see a 40k image of a massive cathedral with spaceships and things, and you're like, that's 40k. And John Blanche, we salute you, sir. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, the things you said there, I think you said, is that me? But I think you're right. I think that's how art works. When you feel like you look at a picture, you can see cool things happening and stuff, but only certain artists can make you kind of feel a feeling as if you're there. And the thing, I think that really separates it, because like I was saying with some of the newer digital art, it has all the components of what you need, right? A big battle, you've got soldiers from Army A and soldiers from Army B, and there are lots of cool things going on. You can spend time studying it and everything. But John Blanche's work was kind of like not showing you really what you had, like not showing you the models as in this is showing us a model or selling a model or this is what the models look like in battle. It showed you a glimpse into that world.
Yes.
Something that you hadn't seen, something that happens behind the scenes, and it made you know that there was a deeper universe.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
What you saw.
If he did a picture of a Space Marine, it wasn't a rendition of a Space Marine. It was a glimpse into that world because his Space Marines looked different to any other Space Marines you'd ever see. It pulled you inside the grimdark universe. Great art is transformative. Someone else said that. And artists use lots of different mediums, be it a chisel, the pen, or painting. When it comes to digital art and the thing, I think in the future there will be great artists that use digital. There will be, and there might already be, but I'm ignorant of them.
Definitely.
There will be people who come along that just blow us away with computer-aided art and all sorts of stuff. It's just art. The artists will speak through the medium, whatever that medium is.
Yeah. And my final thing to say on that, by the way, is that I'm not saying that digital art is worse than hand-drawn art or anything silly like that, because digital art that is good still takes exceptional artistry, right? But as the medium, I can see it. It's different to me. It resonates differently with me.
I mean, some mediums are harder to work with, right?
Yeah.
Quite simply, some mediums are harder to work with. It might be easier to work with some digital art. A pen and paper, just one pen and paper might be an easier medium to work with than 20 different colored pens. There's layers to this. You're talking to two people who are completely not artists and just love the work that they see when it is great work that they love. Yeah.
I was having a quick chat before this about art and things like that, and it was probably the primary reason why I adopted. I mean, I was into things like Judge Dredd as well, and
nice.
2000 AD because you could experience it through art, not just the characters, not just what it was, but you could get deeper. And there wasn't a comic book series for 40k; you had to discover it through the artwork. And I think, as my final comment as well, John Blanche definitely created more food for the imagination than he gave away answers, because there were so many bizarre little things going on, and you could study the images, and that was the key thing as well. It was never just what you saw. It was never just a single thing, a single character. It was just, there was always so much going on in the background. And if you haven't seen it, look up his concept art for Tau.
Okay.
Because Tau, it's surprisingly not as far removed from his concept art, but there is a little bit of what if they'd gone with that. They would be certainly a slightly different looking army now, but he had something there. Anyway, we've just gushed over that for a while.
Stare into the face of fear. Stare into the fist of dread. Brilliant. Do you remember that?
What's that from?
Stare into the face of fear. Stare into the fist of dread. No? Dread
that
versus
one of the
death and all that? Come on.
Oh,
Judge Dredd.
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out which 40k thing you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about Judge Dredd.
Yeah. You know what? I've got like the first 8 collections of it, and I still failed to spot a...
Do you remember the Dredd Batman crossover? That was fantastic as well.
No.
No?
I did.
Okay.
I read the Predator Batman crossover. That was interesting. Anyway, yeah. Hexmark. My wife keeps using my Winter's SEO mug.
Yes.
She says it's just the right size for a nice cuppa. Right? Is this grounds for divorce? This is another bit of relationship advice. I'm sure we've been asked advice before about this. She's really quite good in every other way. We've been together for a long time. Is it worth rocking the boat over a quality brew? Perhaps I should just buy a second mug, but that does seem a little bit extreme. we already have hundreds of plain old boring non-Winters SEO mugs in the cupboard.
I think there's you've already answered your own question. There's a quick and simple answer to this. Buy another mug and buy a third mug for your friends and buy a fourth mug. Give it away for a Christmas present and buy yourself a Winters SEO t-shirt while you're at it. And also email me at winters40k@gmail.com because I've got some dice left. I bought too many, but once they're gone, they're gone. Winters40k@gmail.com. Get all the merch. Get some socks, everything. I don't do socks, but yes, that's my answer to you.
I used those Winters SEO dice, the purple kind of matte ones. They're lovely.
They're red.
Dice.
They're red.
They're like a purpley red.
Are you colourblind?
No, but maybe you are.
They're red. They're slightly opaque.
See-through.
Yeah. So each one of them has a little bit each one of them has a little bit of sunshine inside.
Yeah. I'm not joking, right? I rolled some of the best rolls I've ever rolled. So I think they're cooked. So get them now while you can. This batch is definitely cooked for rolling sixes. So get on it.
Get yourself a mug. Get yourself some dice. And if you're listening to this and you're not a member, become a tier 3 channel member and join into the conversation. Plug, pimp.
That's all the
pimp. Pimp my stuff. Pimp it hard. Right, next.
Okay, we have
it's a good question though. She's using my bug. Shall I divorce her?
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Commander Niam, they. Are you excited or worried for the release of the Tyranid and Space Marine codices? I'm going to say a second question as well. It's from John Luke. It is, if the codexes are unbelievably powerful, will Winters use the codices against index armies or keep to the indices? So there's a bit of anxiety there, clearly, amongst the community about these first codices.
So the first thing I should say, that codex creep is a thing. It's always been a thing. It always will be a thing. Codex creep is a thing. On the channel, and when I play 40k, I always use the most up-to-date rules and the up-to-date codexes and the up-to-date edition. People keep asking, hey, why don't you play some second edition? Or why don't you do this? Or why don't you play that against that? I've been around long enough to see many editions and many indexes and many codexes come and go. I'll play with whatever is the current thing. If that's it, then that's what I'm playing with. And if the codex is terrible, then I probably won't play with it. I'll play with a different army instead, which I did through a bunch of 9th edition. Or if the codex is really powerful, then I'll only break it out against stylus and things like that. So I'll just play with whatever's in front of me because that's the game that we have right now. So that's what I do. And it is what it is. Whatever comes, and this is the hobby. This is the roller coaster. And sometimes you have ups and sometimes you have downs with your army. So the only way to get over that is get two. Two armies.
And the thing is about the first wave of codexes, right? We've been through this every edition forever, right?
Yes.
So, what was it? Necrons and Space Marines.
That was last time, yeah.
Last time. And obviously by the midway point of the year, the Necrons were looking kind of a lot weaker than when they'd started. It's probably going to have the same pattern. We're going to get our first two codices. Space Marines will get a second one halfway through the edition to bring them back up to date again.
Yeah.
So if NIDs are extremely powerful when this codex comes out, don't worry. In about 6 to 8 months' time, they'll fade out. They'll fade out. And power doesn't always mean victory either, and victory doesn't always mean a good game either. So adjust your expectations and just try and enjoy it, because true balance is, unless you're playing a game where everything is given the same stats, so like an all humans game, and there's no bonus powers or very non-influential bonus powers, you're not going to find balance.
Yeah. True balance is fleeting. Just victory lasts forever. One of the things they said in 9th edition, like I forget which codex it was, but it was really out of whack. And they said, we're terribly sorry about that one, but we play tested it against this one, this one, this one. And the 3 codexes that they play tested it against were all the most recent ones, which were really out of whack, which kind of reveals Games Workshop's play testing methodology. Here's what I would do. Tyranids and Space Marines coming out first in this edition, right?
Yeah.
I would play test all the other codexes against, when you're play testing and balancing the rules, play test all the other codexes in this edition against Tyranids and Space Marines to see, and against different Tyranids and Space Marine lists. Don't play test Leagues of Votann in 2 years' time against the kick-ass Eldar lists, or, don't play test X against Y in 18 months' time. Play test X and Y back against the launch edition codexes, and that will help flatten out codex creep a bit. But it will still be there, but it'll flatten out a bit. But they don't do that. So here we are.
No, because we don't have to hide the fact. We've always known that codexes are a way to change what products are selling out. Sorry, my camera's just gone a bit odd. If they want to sell a certain thing, then the codex will make sure that happens. It's always been interlinked with sales, and this is a business that we're going to have to deal with that annoying side of things.
Here's one thing though. I hope it's not as blatant as it was in the previous edition, because you remember, like when Aggressors came out, they could do a ton of stuff, and then 3 months in, there was a fact they nerfed them.
Yeah.
Or when Eradicators came out and they could fire twice, and then 3 months in they nerfed them. In the previous edition, it was a lot more blatant. Oh, this can do this, and this can do the new. It was blatantly broken.
Leagues of Votann, for example,
so blatantly broken they had to nerf it very, very quickly. I hope it's not as blatant in this edition.
Have they learned a lesson? We will find out.
Yeah.
Sultan
asked a question?
Yeah.
No.
The Sultan's question is, who has the nicest shaped head in the world? Silly boy.
That's a good question. Yeah.
What's the answer?
I don't know. I haven't met everyone yet. You?
Nicest shaped head. I really liked do you remember the film The Coneheads? That was
Yeah, that's a deep dive. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a ridiculous question, Sultan.
Thanks, though.
Yeah, thanks. I shouldn't have asked it. Right. This. I'm going to come back to that question.
Okay, not that one.
It's similar to what we've just been talking about. A lot of questions are similar. I think the questions that we get are quite an interesting look at the general feeling of the player base, because it's definitely a lot of anxiety about how things are going to suddenly change. We have Rico Shiva 4, or Richie to everybody else. I don't know what name that is. Asked 2 questions. First of all, pork or beef or chicken. I'm going to go with pork. And the second one is an opinion piece. Which 3 factions should be removed from 40k for ease of balance?
Okay. Craftworld Eldar. Craftworld Eldar. And I don't know. For ease, I just get Eldar. We spoke about it before, and was it the previous STC or the one before where they could do a whole Shakespearean tragedy with the Craftworlders and launch the Exodites and launch the Ynnari a lot better. They can have new ranges, new things. They've just changed the Space Marine range. They could change the Eldar range and launch off into different directions and have it all wrapped up with a nice Shakespearean tragedy thing going on. I can't see killing off a faction over a period of time is a bad thing for sales if they do it right and introduce new factions at the same time. And anyway, so I don't know, three for balance. Again, balance is that thing. Like, let's kill off 3 for balance, right? So you kill off 3 for balance now, but in 12 months' time, it's the balance is the other way. And if you've got 3 children on the seesaw and they're supported by 1 big rock, you take the rock off, and then the 3, and then they sink. Or if you put a bigger rock on and one goes into orbit, it's how many children versus what's your children to rock ratio on the edge of a seesaw these days? I don't know. It depends what the rocks are made of as well. Some could be made of lead. Some could be made of feathers. Well, not necessarily. But yeah, the rock to children ratio changes over time. Balance is do we care? Just hang out in the hobby long enough and it will swing the other way. Just keep you up. If you're drowning in the deep end because your faction isn't that balanced right now, then there's a couple of things you should do. 1, put some armbands on. 2, get another faction. 3, maybe get some new friends because they keep punching you. It's just, all get into the Winters SEO members thingy bob, become a tier 3 channel member and chat to other people in here and have some games with local gamers in your area are looking for you right now.
Yeah. Ooh. I would like to answer that question as well.
Okay.
Just get rid of Knights, Chaos Knights, and Eldar. Yeah, let's get rid of Eldar.
I'm glad we agree on something finally.
Let's get rid of them.
They're
just, a funny thing. I think Eldar, they've just really had a problem with finding where they should be. They've built these elf races that are very specialized. So you've got your Dark Eldar, which are very specialized in like melee and
stuff,
things like that. But they've got a very good focus on that, right? They do a bit of shooting. They can hit hard. Then they've got Harlequins, which are just pure melee with a little bit of pew in the background, but you're talking melee. And then you've got Eldar, which are kind of like, what do we do now? What's the next flavour for elves? Let's make them really good give them really good ballistic skill, really good shooting. Let's give them really good weapons. Let's give them really good vehicles. Let's give them they're the best psychics. Let's give them really good psychic powers. Let's make them really fragile though, so that they're toughness 3. Oh, but then let's also add a bunch of other models to their range that are really tough. Like tougher than most standard units, much tougher than the tough units like Terminators and stuff from other factions. Let's do that, and then for good measure, we'll just make it so they can change a dice roll. Let's get rid of them. They're good. They're really good. Let's spin them off with all the Knights, because you know what? I'm done with Knights. Get out of here.
You're done with Knights?
Both flavours.
Yeah.
Mate, if your list means that I can only take one type of list to fight it, I'm not interested. Get out.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, if I don't bring a bunch of anti-tank, we don't have a game. We don't have a game.
Sure. But they look cool.
Yeah.
Big stompy robots, man. They look cool.
Put them on the shelf and look at them. Don't bring them to the table with my army that is 50% infantry, 50% anti-tank. Yeah, that'll upset me, because then I can't use half my army.
Yeah, Knights are. Here we are. They do imbalance the game, and they have imbalanced the game through every edition since they came out. They're a thing.
Yeah, they're a thing.
They're the problem. Yeah, they're the step uncle that no one really talks to at parties. That's who they are.
Tell you where a knight is really good. Knights are really good as auxiliary units with other people, like Admech with a knight.
Knight is good. Knight in Chaos Knight in any Chaos army is a nice addition. It looks cool. Imperial Knight in any Imperial faction is a nice addition. It looks really cool.
I've never struggled with a single knight either.
No, Knight on Knight action is also good. Knights running against Knights. It's really fun 40k. But as a whole, there's a problem.
I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it as well, just to tack on to what we've been talking about. I might get some flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Don't say it.
I'm going to say it.
Don't say it.
As well as Codexes being imbalanced.
Yes.
Right? That is definitely. We all know that's a thing. Some armies on the table are just going to be stronger than the other army. There is dice involved. You can wing it each way. With certain armies, though, there is also a skill issue. I think two very experienced players who know their armies and the opponent's army inside out might find that some of the perceived imbalance is also due to how they choose to play their army against their opponent.
Skill issue.
The only reason I say that is because it's not always. I'm not blaming it on a skill issue everywhere. I'm just saying that does slightly come into it, because I've played games where I've been battered, and at the end of it, I go, you know what? I just did some real dumb stuff in that. Yeah, my list wasn't that strong compared to their list, but I could have also not just stood there when that happened, or had some guys over here. And I wonder how many times people go away and went, I lost that game because his codex is better than mine, or her codex is better than mine. I think that also plays a bit of a part. There's going to be something of that in there. And luck.
Issue. Yeah, it's really difficult for people to see that, particularly when most people play their own little meta. Yes. Unless their own local meta has a guy or girl is absolutely epic at the game and a tactical genius, and then everyone else is swimming around in the shallow end of the gene pool, then they get to see it quite plainly. But there is a big difference between someone who has the tactical brain and can remember every little thing about their army. See, part of it is memory, learning little thing about your army and how it overlaps, and also knowing everything about your opponent's army and how they overlap, so you kind of can see what's coming before it comes. Just like there's a skill issue. It's a game. And you can get more knowledgeable and more skilled at the game, and you don't have to flip the table every time. You don't have to throw a bowling ball at your opponent's face. You don't have to, come to the table drunk just to get through it to the other side and puke up in their dice pot. There is a gap there. There is a gap there. Yeah.
And I'm super guilty of walking away from a game thinking, their codex is just way better than mine. And in most cases, except when you're fighting knights, most cases, it's going to be a bit of column A, a bit of column B. It's going to be a bit of you, a little bit of power, but also you have choices, and it is a points game, and you can score, and you can win a game, even if a straight firefight is not going to go in your favour. You don't have to stand there and slug it out with people. There are ways that you can force how things go. There are ways you can manipulate the table.
Skill issue.
That's an awful thing. I'm going to be crucified for that.
Sure. I mean, it's obvious. Obvious. Like, there's people out there watching this who play all the time, right? Or play. There's people. Hey, you out there, you play. You've played. Imagine playing with someone tomorrow who's only had 2 games. There you go. You can see straight away that you should be able to smash them.
I think as well, for example, so you play consistently, right? You play consistently.
Yes.
And one of the other things I think is you're going to get a muscle memory for outcomes. You're going to have experienced this situation X amount of times, or a similar situation, and that will give you a quicker instinctive understanding of, okay, well, I've charged 20 orc boys into that situation X amount of times, and most of the time in the past it's actually failed, or it's been caught out by this, so I'm not going to do that. Whereas someone else might think, I'm playing orcs are supposed to charge in and chop them up, I'm going for it. And then there's going to be situations like that where just having that experience lets you know that things might not play out how you imagine. I'm not talking about math hammer, I just mean it's probably happening behind the scenes in your head. You're like, no, I've fallen for this before.
Yeah. That's why people who go to tournaments play test all the time, right? You want to see what happens in certain situations all the time, and they even do it on the channel. I'm like, I'm gonna sometimes I'm going to charge this unit into this unit. This is a terrible idea, but it's really fun, so let's do it anyway.
Yes.
So,
which is the route I often end up going down, especially if I've got a big old narrative thing going for my army. And it's one of the reasons why I just persisted with Iron Warriors in an age when Triple Vindicators were terrible. And it was like, no, this is how my Iron Warriors play. They bring big, rolling, ridiculous tanks and they march up behind them, and if it doesn't work and people shoot it to bits, well, that's how my Iron Warriors play, and I'm going to do it.
I like it when the silly things happens, when vehicles blow up, when the devastating wounds kills your psyker. I like it when all the funny things happens, when the unexpected happens. That's those are nice. Those are nice moments.
Right, we've still got quite a few. We've got a lot here to go.
Okay,
through.
dig.
Crack on.
We'll do a rapid fire round.
Yeah, rapid fire. The smartest idiot again.
Okay.
If both of you were to write a storyline about how chaos is defeated in the post-Rift era of 40k, what would happen and how would chaos be permanently defeated? I'll do a quick one at the start because I'm not going to go into it.
Yep.
Chaos cannot be defeated. There you go. Over to you.
Okay, if I wrote a quick story about chaos being defeated, Necron pylons all over the place. They have a chat. See, the Silent King has a chat with Guilliman. Guilliman decides to, okay, I will invest in you. I will hire pylon engineering. We're going to get some Wi-Fi throughout the whole of the galaxy. We're going to go fiber optic broadband. And the Silent King goes off and lays down all the cabling all over the place and locks the galaxy down, and no chaos. Chaos is utterly defeated. Blackstone is the answer. Blackstone for the speediest, dialiest, uppiest internet connection. Blackstone.
There you go.
Blackstone.
And then it will start off at a promotional price. They'll let you know it's like
here's the thing: if there's Blackstone
a month.
Yeah, $20.99 in a nice introductory offer. Here's the thing: if all these Blackstone pylons are all over the place, and reality is like a tablecloth flapping away in the wind, and Abaddon came along and pulled out a couple of the pins on the tablecloth, which means that in places it's got ripped in the wind, right? Someone at some point put all the pylons down and nailed the tablecloth really hard down on top of that windy table. What was it like before the Necrons put those nails down? It must have been... No wonder why all life in the galaxy got wiped out 60 million years ago. It must have been a horrible place. It must have been like Swindon on a Tuesday. It's terrible.
Did the Necrons put the pylons down when they were still Necrontyr, or was it post Necrodermis?
Probably post Necrodermis. I don't think we're very, very clear on that. Like the first war in heaven, people think, oh, it's a war. I think this period of time, the first war in heaven, the second war in heaven. You're talking about millions of years. You're talking about a long. I mean, how long is the Imperium's been around for 10,000 years? That's the blink in an eye to the Necrons. So.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm wondering how many sentient races there were to kind of feed a chaos situation anyway. So it might not have been... I mean, it might not have been that bad.
No, it was really bad because they put these things down there. The Eldar were around. You got to remember that the old ones created a bunch of different races to fight the Necrons, right? Biological super weapons such as the green-skinned Krork, the Jokero, the Harud, the Eldar. These are biological weapons to fight the Star Gods and the Necrontyr. And some of them are dead, some of them are still around. And one of those biological weapons is a very aggravated mushroom that keeps coming back no matter what you do. One of those races as well was a being that could live just as easily inside the warp as it could outside the warp. Farseers in and out and wishy-washy and blah, 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 and spiritual and puppies and rainbows and things. That was the Eldar. So it was a different place back then. And the Eldar could float around between heaven and hell, or heaven and reality. It was a different reality back then. But by the end of it, it was awful. It was really bad. You wouldn't want to get a house in that neighborhood.
No,
lots of boarded up windows. You know, people being sick in the gutter on a Tuesday night. Not a place that you'd want children running around on the cobblestones on Saturday morning. It was a terrible neighbourhood. It was bad. They had to nail it all down, board up all the windows, and here we are. So it also asked the question, is the Great Rift ripped in that location because that's where all the nails are and there was a rift like that before? Or is the Great Rift ripped in that location because those are the nails that Abaddon pulled out of the tablecloth, but he could have pulled some different ones out over there or over there or over there, and maybe there's other ways it could have ripped. I do wonder about that when I'm lying in bed at night.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Next question.
I'm going to throw in a question that as part of that from Badger King. Do gene-stealer cultists have souls in the warp? And being part human, and when the biomass bit is consumed, where does the soul go?
Yes, they do. All sentient creatures have souls in the warp except for pariahs. Everything has a representative. Yeah.
And I imagine that the being consumed and squirted into the acid pit and stuff is just a death like any other.
Yeah, well, we don't really know what happens on the other side in the shadow of the warp. Whether the souls are taken up. The best description of the shadow in the warp is like a massive static, is a hiss, is the static that you see on your TV. That's we don't really know what happened. Is the warp still the warp? But it is. They have souls. Where they go is anyone's guess.
There you go. Right. Oh, here you go. Mick the Machine. Good old Mick.
Hi, Mick.
The Machine. Given the means to control the narrative of the 40k verse, would you rather the Emperor came back to life or was killed off altogether?
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh. Well, the Emperor's not dead. So him coming back to life, I mean, technically, but not. And then, but he is also technically dead. What's the options? Kill him off or bring him back?
Yeah, and the books are very much at the moment, without spoiling too much in recent years, have very much had him functioning like he's already back.
I don't think they should ever bring back the Emperor.
No,
the idea of the Emperor sitting on the golden throne is like it's one of the pillars on which a lot of narrative rests. So if they ever brought him back, it better be like a double bluff. It's the Emperor. Oh my God, the community goes wild. There's a bunch of books, this, that, and the other. And then in 2 years' time, psych, it wasn't really the Emperor. They could do something like that. But I don't think they should ever bring back the Emperor of Mankind. It's a thing. It's a foundation. Just leave him. He's had a hard time. Just leave him chilling. He's fine. Becoming a god. We need a god. We need a god. They've got loads of gods. We need a god. Mind you, they're not really gods, and neither is he. It's complicated. What do you think?
I think that whole thing, the whole time I've been a 40k fan, the point is the Emperor is a skelly bones, is a mummy on the golden throne, and it's meant to be about lost hopes and lost futures and lost the plan things not going the way they were supposed to be, and that's the current setting was that, and I'm very wary of that being changed too much. There's already been too much Emperor for my liking in recent narratives, and I want that to go away, but I don't want him to be killed off. He needs to be there. It's better that he's there but not than not there at all, or there we go.
They could kill him off but not tell the whole of, like, there could be a twist, like in one of these books at some point, twist, here's the thing, End of the Death, Volume 3, the end of the Siege of Terror, blah blah blah, twist, the Emperor actually dies and he's dead, and all this time it's been Malcador sat on the golden throne. Twist, the Emperor of Mankind is dead. See, they could do something like that, and it doesn't change anything technically. So to answer your question, kill him off. Yes, don't ever. You could do something like that. Don't ever wake him up. Prometheus stole fire from the gods, and for his crimes he was chained to the rock for eternity. That is the story of the Emperor of Mankind. So kill him. Don't resurrect him.
Yes,
keep him chained to the rock or dead.
Yeah, and we know from last week. Do you remember not last week? In the last episode, we came up with all those really cool units and stuff, and we fixed world eaters and things like that.
It was so cool.
But now we know that Games Workshop watch us, because obviously they've gone off and started to develop that. So they're here watching this right now, and there you go. It's official from the STC development team and hosts. You're not allowed to bring the Emperor back.
No.
Kill him
we
off
were
if you
giving
want,
away multi-million-dollar ideas for free last episode.
Yeah,
I highly recommend
throw us a bone.
That one. Yeah, I mean, for free. I don't think we should talk like when people ask questions like that anymore. Before we answer questions like that, we should definitely sign a contract with Games Workshop beforehand, because we're just giving out these billion-dollar ideas for free, trillion-dollar ideas for free. We should keep a couple of keep your powder dry a little bit. Keep a couple of irons in the fire. Yeah.
But the first taste was for free anyway. Like
first taste.
The first taste is always free. So you got a little hint at what we're capable of. But there's plenty more where that came from.
Oh, you're capable of so much more, Warsmith Chris. So much more.
I'm going to save a couple of these questions. I'm going to keep them pinned. And if you ask these questions, if you're watching this and you're like, you didn't ask my question, check the pin, and if your question is still there, that's why, because I think I'd like to spend a bit more time on a couple of these.
Ooh.
And we've still got a few to go. So
okay.
We got stepping away from the lore a second. We got just quite a common question, but I think it's worth bringing up every now and again. Tomo91 just asks, how do you deal with hobby burnout?
Tomo.
I've got plenty to say on this one. Have you got any top tips though to start with?
I got no idea. I don't know what he's talking about. There must be something that mere mortals have. I do not hobby burnout. What is hobby burnout? I mean, burnout. 3,000 points of Raven Guard sat there. Before that was 5,000 points of Emperor's Children. Before that, 9,000 points worth of Necrons. Before I just hobby burnout. It's just mere mortals must suffer this thing, because I do not burn out. What is it? Better to burn out than to fade away. I don't know. Yeah, it's just Talk about it, Warsmith Chris.
Yeah, for the rest of us, like mortals, the rest of us regular folk, hobby burnout is obviously when. I think it's a poor name for essentially not wanting to keep doing the same thing all the time, right? So I think if we think of it less about hobby burnout and think of it more about, I don't want to paint another 1,000 points of these models just yet, because I've just painted 1,000 of them and it took up lots of evenings and my arm hurts and my eyes are burning and things like that. It's totally allowed. There are other things in the world. You may not know about them, but there are things. My general suggestion would be the same with anything. If you watched 8 seasons of a TV show like The Walking Dead, for example, the burnout is very quick. And other ones, the burnout is very slow. Once you start to feel that point, you've got to remember that this is your downtime, this is your fun time. Unless you are have a channel and things like that, and you're doing this as a thing, everyone else can just walk away from it, right? If you're not enjoying what you're doing at the time because it's taking up too much time, please do something else. There's no point in turning your hobby into a burden. It should always be for fun. It should always be something fulfilling. It should never be something that makes you feel burdened. And you should never really get to the point where you're burning out from it anyway, because long before that time, you should go and try to do something else. Go take up jogging for a week. Go walk around the park for a while. Skydiving, play a different game, play a video game, watch some films with a friend, do something else. And when you're ready, you will be ready. You'll know. You'll get the buzz and you'll go back to it. And if that doesn't come, then it doesn't, don't force it.
Chris, that was remarkably sensible from you. I'm impressed.
I've been there. I've been through the phases. I've been doing this since I was about 10 or 11 years old. I know the phases, and sometimes it can be weeks, months, years. Lots of people took big breaks from Warhammer when they discovered the opposite sex and things like that, and they were like, yeah, I'm being cool, I'm a young teenager and I'm going to do this, and then you don't play it for a while, and then you play it again. It's different for everybody. Just make sure you're having fun. There you go.
I like what you said. That was when you said, like, it's your downtime and it should always be fulfilling, and that got me thinking about cake, which is very fulfilling. And I like thinking about cake. So
Bake a cake. There we go.
Bake a cake.
Bake a cake. Learn how to make cakes. Great cakes. It's a life skill that will serve you well.
Yes.
You can branch out into sourdoughs and things like that if you want. Get fancy with it. But just bake it. If you can bake a really moist, good Victoria sponge with a good layer of cream and a good layer of jam, that should be like the initial goal before you go too fancy.
If one of your mates came round with a cake, wouldn't you? Here's a cake. You'd love him, wouldn't you? Chris.
I would.
One of your mates comes around with a cake. What cake is it?
Oh, no. I'm not.
A cake. What are you partial to right now? Cake.
I mean, look, as a person, I'm a cakey kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
There's not many cakes I'm going to be disappointed with. And
True.
Sometimes what I want isn't necessarily what I think I want. So someone comes around, they go, I've got this really weird cake that you've probably never tried before. It's raspberries and something else. I don't know. Something weird that I haven't had. And I'll be like, well, I didn't know I wanted that cake, but let's go for it. And it could be amazing,
Raspberries in a cake.
I don't know.
Raspberries.
Maybe I asked for a chocolate fudge cake and instead they brought round a not salted caramel. I'm sick of that. They brought round a lemon drizzle cake that was perfectly moist with a really good layer of the icing sugar on the top. And, I was pleasantly surprised. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect to love this lemon drizzle cake as much as I love it right now. Because I didn't know I wanted it. Thank you. And they'll be like,
thank you.
Chocolate orange cake. Have you ever had one of them before?
I'm not a fan of chocolate orange.
Oh.
So I'm a big fan of chocolate, obviously. But I have a political disagreement with any type of fruit that interferes with chocolate. You can put mint in chocolate, you can put caramel in chocolate, you can put cream in chocolate, but keep your strawberries, keep your raisins, keep your orange out of it, okay? This is a complete political disagreement with me. They're on one side of the voting aisle, I'm on the other side of the voting aisle, and I'm never going to agree with anything they have to say when it comes to my chocolate. We need to build a wall to keep them out. From a chocolate, away from a chocolate.
I'm going to go a step further. I want to say that whoever thought that putting dead grapes into anything was a good idea. Let's bake a cake, and instead of lovely cake and stuff in that, let's fill it with these weird, chewy, dried fruits that have just been left to rot, basically. Yeah. Let's do that. Raisins are an abomination. And that should never have happened. If you put them in water, they turn back into a horrible-looking grape.
Do they?
Yeah, it's horrible. Don't ever do it.
A rat droppings. Stay away from them. Ugh.
Yeah. And raisins should never have gone into chocolate. Dairy milk should never have even thought about doing fruit and nut bars because...
I don't. Whoever invented the raisin, whatever factory, Willy Wonka or whatever, I need to go round his house and give him a karate chop because it was a bad idea.
It was some stingy person who bought loads and loads of grapes, couldn't sell them all, left them in a warehouse somewhere and went, oh, they're all horrid and they've turned into little rat droppings. And I tell you what, pick them all off, put them in a box and let's sell them. And
judo chop.
Yeah, disgusting.
That's disgusting.
What was the question about?
Sometimes violence is the answer, when it comes to raisin rat droppings. I don't know. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, it was... that was the thing. We're going to save that for next. We're going to save that for the next episode. We're going to save that for the next episode. let's finish off with this. We're from
I tell you what. The next episode looks fantastic already. It sounds it sounds fantastic. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. What I should have done, if I was a proper question curator, someone asked a really good question, you responded to it, I responded and said, discuss. Yeah. And you were like, yeah, man. And then I just looked at it and I was like, this is probably quite a bit. We need to, we'll come back.
Okay. See, the interesting thing is, though, when you throw those questions at me and you say, hey, this is a really interesting one, we talk about this, and it's like 2 minutes, we're done. Yeah. But cake, we can talk about that for 5 hours.
I could really talk about cake. The last question from Ben crab pincer thing. What would you have said if you were Magnus at the Council of Nicaea to convince the Emperor to keep the librarians? As if somehow our feeble human brains could think of a better way out than a Primarch. But
I'll tell you what Magnus should have said. And here's the thing. Imagine Guilliman was the Psyker, or imagine Dawn was the Psyker, or imagine the Angel was the Psyker, or Corax was the Psyker. Pick most of the good guy Primarchs and put them in Magnus's place. That particular good guy Primarch was the instigator of the Librarius project. What the good guy Primarch would have done, Corax would have walked out to the front and they would have say, what say you, Corax? And Corax would have turned and looked the Emperor straight in the eye and say, I go with whatever you say, my liege. And that's it. That's what Magnus should have said. The Emperor's word is law, and I'm just it. Yeah. Instead, Magnus starts ranting on like when I was a lad. I used to walk 14 miles to pit, work for 18 hours a day, get given 2 lumps of coal and an orange for your thing, and he doesn't appreciate me. And Magnus had one eye. He was always half blind to the truth because one eye was always focused inward. One eye was always looking in at himself, the other eye looking out at the universe. He could only ever see half of the universe. He was half blind. And he was also a little bitch. So Magnus did plenty wrong.
Yes.
The character is complicated
smart enough
and gets more complicated. Well, he thought he was the smartest guy in the room.
But he didn't
he knew more than
realise. Yeah, that's the problem. Is he could have, well, I mean, this could go into something, but he could have been more deceitful, basically, and turned round to the Emperor and been like, of course, my liege, of course, blah, 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 blah. And then not ended up having his entire legion slaughtered and his planet destroyed and his beautiful pyramids destroyed. He could have done that, but he didn't. Now, is that down to being blind to the truth of what was going to happen? Was that down to being too good, like not wanting to be deceitful in that manner? Or is that down to, is he not as smart as he thought he was? Did he really not think that would be the repercussions?
There's a Horus Heresy book called 1,000 Suns by Graham McNeil, and it's excellent because it answers all these questions. A lot of people don't like, not a lot of people, some people are not a fan of the book 1,000 Suns because unlike most of the other books in the Heresy, it doesn't deal with a thing. It deals with a bunch of things, and it takes a long time to get it going. So because it's dealing with a bunch of different stories, the first bit is all to do with Eldar. The second, then you end up going to Ulanor, then you end up going to Nicaea, then you end up at Tisca. And I love it because it's the first time you ever go to Ulanor. He does the Council of Nicaea. It's the first time you see Tisca. And I love it as well, just like Mechanicum by Graham McNeil. It answers a bunch of questions. So you're thinking, what, didn't he know? Didn't he not know? Was he a bit blind? In that book, Magnus says, I knew the Emperor before I even came out of my pod. I knew him way before any of those other Primarchs knew him, because while he was still in the pod and dreaming away and having baby dreams, him and the Emperor would fly the great ocean together. Magnus isn't really physical. He's a spiritual power. He's an exploding supernova of power and stuff wrapped inside some human flesh every now and then. He's half in the warp, half in this reality. They're all a bit in the warp. And he flew the great ocean and had all the chats with the Emperor and thought he knew everything because he spoke to that and had an intimate relationship with Daddy. And Daddy said to him, and he says it in the book twice, Daddy said to him, here's the line, don't go over that line.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And the Emperor said it to him at the start, and Magnus went, yeah, but I knew better, and went. And in a conversation with Ahriman, he talks about how he had this conversation with him, and the Emperor said, don't go over the line, and he went over the line and spoke to Tzeentch, and it wasn't Tzeentch at that point, but saved the Legion, and da-da-da. And then the Daddy says again, here's the line, woe betide he who breaks faith, woe betide he who ignores my warning and breaks faith with me. For he shall be my enemy, and I shall visit upon him and all his followers, that until the end of all things he will rue the day he turned from my light. Something like that is the quote, the Emperor's judgment at the Council of Nicaea. And he said, there's the line again. And then Magnus went dancing over the line as soon as he went to Tisca. He thought he knew better. So did he not know? Yes, he knew. The Emperor told him where to go, what to do, how to put the full stop in, how to put the exclamation marks in, how to draw everything along the lines, how to make paragraphs, how to make a chapter, how to make a book, and don't write outside the lines, and don't. And Magnus just went, followed those instructions and way more. He was some kids you just can't teach. Some kids you just can't tell them, don't put your hand in the fire. Some kids you can't say, don't put your finger up the dog's bum. And they're going to do it anyway. And Magnus was that child. He had his finger wedged in there. He shouldn't have done that. The dog didn't like it. And look at where we are now.
Wonderful. That was...
yeah.
Thank you. I need a minute to recover from that.
No, but, it's just he knew, he was told, and yeah, I've got the quote on my phone somewhere. I keep it.
Is that the quote that named your?
Yeah, the end of all things are named after the quote. Him and all their followers, they and all their followers, they shall be my enemy, and until the end of all things, they shall rule the day you turn from my light. So yeah, great quote. When the Emperor is giving it, this is another thing about that book, which Graham McNeill is so good. The Emperor says very few things in Mechanicum, for example, and in the Thousand Suns. Interestingly enough, it's the first couple of times the Emperor turns up in the whole Horus Heresy series. This is one of the reasons why I love Graham McNeill, is because other authors sometimes don't want to deal with... If you let Graham McNeill talk about the throne room, he'll go in on the throne room. If you let Graham McNeill talk about the Emperor, he'll go in on the Emperor. He doesn't shy away from the big questions. He doesn't shy away from the big characters or the big play, and he'll go in on it. And one of the things I like about Graham McNeill's writing style in those books in particular is whenever the Emperor's speaking, you can tell that the Emperor's not just speaking to the person he's speaking to, be it Horus or be it Magnus or be it whoever it is. The Emperor is always speaking to history itself. He knows that these words will be written down and recorded for posterity. The Emperor is speaking to us as much as he's speaking to the audience that he's speaking to, as much as the Primarch he's speaking to, as much as he's speaking to posterity. And Graham McNeill nails that when the Emperor talks. And and in the Outcast Dead as well. He's so good at that. So good at that. Sorry, fangirling there a little bit there. The other thing that Graham McNeill is absolutely smashing about is big battles. He does big battles really well. Anyway, don't get me off on authors, because we'll be here all day.
Well, there we go. So when you're thinking about questions to ask, just remember that there is a universe of... This is the man here who's read the books 48 times each. So we can really go in depth with this stuff. But I think that'll be enough for today. We've gone through. I'm going to try and curate the questions a bit more like this in future, so we got a bit of a mix. I don't want it to be too heavy on certain topics, so we'll jump back and forth. There's some real life advice for hobbying and armies and codexes and rule writing. We want to get into the deep lore of things and what ifs and things like that. Get it all in there as a big hobby bowl of cake. No raisins. Raisins get chucked straight out. Apparently no orange essence, even though I'm a big fan of orange essence. But
not with
chocolate.
chocolate.
It. So we'll make a lovely, moist lore and hobby sponge. It'll be fantastic. But thank you very much for
cake mix in a bowl. You talk about cake and the bowl, cake mix.
You get to eat
with ice cream. Oh, awesome.
Careful of raw eggs, though. You could get some
raw eggs. You can,
into the cake.
Apparently, like half of all chickens just have salmonella naturally. Apparently, they just, they have it. It's like all koalas have chlamydia or something. But apparently,
yes, they do.
It's a different type of chlamydia. Humans can't catch it, so it's okay to lick a koala. Right. You're not going to get chlamydia from it. It's just a thing. Yeah.
Back in you were born several 100 decades before I was. But back in the day, I don't remember there being any issue with just like eating like the cake batter off of the spoon. I don't think anyone really worried about the raw eggs in it or anything like that. That seems to be something that came later.
Well, being a perpetual that was born in ancient Babylon, I can confirm that before the days of refrigeration, it wasn't an issue. But since the days of electricity and refrigeration, what happens is beforehand things couldn't be taken from A to B. Food storage was an issue for a very long time, even last century. So food issue, storage thing, refrigeration changed all that. And so along with refrigeration comes modern factory farming methods, and then you have where we are there now. But back in the day, if your chicken had a bit of chlamydia, you could tell that he was giving the hen a bit of a rash and walking a bit funny, and you'd chop that one and eat that one. You wouldn't let it hang out with the other ones.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
You could put the raw egg in your smoothie in the morning with your carrot and have that before you go for your run down to the mine and dig out the coal. Yeah, it wasn't a thing, but then, elastic trickery came along and it spoiled everything and also improved some things. Yeah. So...
there you go.
Yeah.
We got to get out of here.
We've got to go.
We've got to end this. So you know what? I really appreciate everyone if you've watched this whole thing and you're sat here and you made it this far, then thank you so much. Honestly, thank you very much for joining us. And it's very humbling that people might watch us talk and stuff about this kind of cakes and whatnot all the way to the end. So if you've made it here, you're the best. Whoever you are, you're the best. And I love you very much. And we'll see you.
And if you made it here, let us know. Write in the comment section below, like, I climbed Mount STD, or I achieved my STD trophy, or I swam to the bottom, got my brick, or I listened to all of these things while painting. Let us know in the comments section below. It'd be nice to hear from you. You are you're a small, select, elite fraternity of heroes. So please comment below. And
no cheating.
No cheating.
If you played at the start of the video, just skip straight to the end to get through it, and you've made it here. No come
cheating
to me with your comments. If you've watched it from start to finish, the music's about to play and we're about to fade out, go blah blah blah. Use that opportunity to leave us a comment and say we're there for you. We just let us know that you made it through with us. Yeah, we love you, especially you. Love you. Anyway,
do we?
Thank you. Yeah, we love you. Just
what
wait
that
and
one?
say love you.
Especially that. Okay, bye.
Not that one.
No, not that one.
The other
not
one.
you. Thanks for coming.
Love you. Bye. Thank you.
Why do we do this every time? I mean,
because I like to fade it out.
There might be a better, more professional way than us.
You wave and we say love you, and then I fade it out now, and then I can't find the button.
I don't love that one though. I love the other one.